Good morning. Today is July the 17th of 2012. It's time for the second part of the Singularity series. My name is Matthew Ewing, or at least that's the name my flesh body was given. Before we get into it, I want to explain why I named this series Singularity. Very few people understand what, or at least know what a singularity is. The theory of it is that in the center of a black hole there is a portion of consciousness that retains all of the light information that black hole absorbs. It's called a singularity. It is a sum total of every single speck of information that the black hole consumes within itself, including a massive black hole. To the greatest understanding of my perception of this reality, that's the closest to the definition of what we exist as. Not as the black hole, nor as the light that's spinning around it and being devoured, but as the sum total of the awareness that information fuses into, which exists at the core of that black hole. Last week, actually, we went into the first part of Singularity, which was a discussion of the ego. All that was a basis that would allow me to get to the point of interacting with you with information that would be useful to you. What the ego allows for you is individuality, and that is the most potent thing that exists in this universe. Understand that because of the fact that what it allows you is to really literally defy the nature of existence and view the world on your own terms as an individual. And that's what it is. It's individuality. That's what the ego allows for you. It allows you the illusion of separation, to hold on to that illusion and to sort of make it real within the context. Now there's of course schools of thought that say that you need to devoid yourself of the ego in order to commune with the collective. But you don't actually have to do that. Granted, I would say there are portions of the time where you need to learn how to accentuate your ego into the overall collective. But it is imperative that you understand that you crafted an ego, or rather the construction of the ego is not antithesis to a spiritual existence. It's actually necessary. It's the whole reason for the experiment. The whole reason for the experiment is because of this. If I want to understand the fullest spectrum of experience possible, it makes no sense for me to try and do it on my own, or to create a bunch of offsprings of myself that I then have to govern through that action, because then the richness of it is diluted. The experiences of a slave are never the same experiences of that of a free man who might be going through the same actual circumstances, but one is identified with the life that they were living as their own, and therefore the impetus, the identification, the drives, the urges are much more intense. That's what individuality allows you. It allows you to craft a life that is going to be uniquely galvanizing to you in such a way that it's going to bring out the fullest aspect of who you are. So what you need to do with that is understand that your individuality is a divine thing. It's what allows you to make sort of creations out of the act of creation. The physical manifestation of creation, the materials, the wealth, information. What your individuality allows you to do is have unique perspectives on that, and to use those unique perspectives to elevate the consciousness of the totality. That's how you contribute to the path of others. That's how you really contribute to the overall totality, even past the path of others and self, which are just two polar representations. Never allow yourself to believe that the path of others, which is the precept, the action formation of unconditional love, exists as a totality point of view. Unity consciousness is not a totality point of view. It is simply a polarized version of the path of others, which is one facet. The other facet, the extreme opposite of that, is a path of self. which exists as a separation consciousness. You have the capacity to be both, and you should, because that's what elevates the totality. That's what gets us to the point where as beings we're ready to accept totality perspectives, which is where we are right now. That is what this planet has always been, and when it's moving into the fifth density, it's doing it as a totality perspective. That brings me to the second portion of it, the mind portion, which is society. Again, it does no good to become spiritually enlightened and then sort of abdicate your place in society. You've seen this happen again and again. Most people who become, let's say, spiritually aware spend the majority of time renouncing the throes of society and then like abdicating their position, their voice within it. That is an act of straight up cowardice, and it's also a surrender of your individuality. You have the potential within you to construct society to be a harmonic representation of your spiritual alignment. Since you have the capacity to do it, you actually have the mandate to do it. Society exists at all levels. It cannot be escaped because it is part of the constitutional makeup. It's how we interact. We've constructed certain models that allow for the most harmonious interaction until, as a totality, we find a more productive model. It will not change. That's why at the most basic level, bacterial life, even atomic life, there is a social relationship of the individual to the whole, and the whole to the atmosphere. The same thing is true of the human species. There's a social relationship of the individual human to the whole of humanity, and there's a social relationship of the whole of humanity to the environment around them. To seek to escape that, you only do it because you are admitting your fear of that it is more powerful than you. But that is not true, because it is you. To fear any aspect of self is the ultimate idea, like the personification of insanity. There is no reason to fear anything, because ultimately everything is you. I don't even bother, I'm not going to talk about death, because if you haven't gotten to the point of understanding that all things are subject to impermanence, but that you are not a thing. Anyway, the society itself is a way for the organism, the individual consciousness, to experience the highest range of experiences possible in the shortest amount of time. Because the society has sort of thoroughfares, highways of experience, things that other people do, that everyone does as a social collective, and is going to bring to bear experiences that you're looking for. For instance, in this society, the institution of marriage, or jobs, or specialization, skills, structures. All of those are highways. They're established modes of interaction. And because of that, it makes it easier for you to have that experience when you incarnate here, because you don't have to blaze the trail to it. You don't have to be the first person, which is always the most difficult. It's always the most difficult for the individual who's crossing the mountain pass on foot so he can prospect a road out, as opposed to the individual who's coming along later in a train on an established route. That's what the society allows, for established routes. So it becomes imperative upon the individual to understand that society is a part of nature, but that you are nature. So that means if you dislike the society or any of the facets of it, it is your responsibility to change that actively, not passively, not by praying or meditating about it, not by using the secret and wishing for it to happen and believing that somebody else will do it. I mean by praying and meditating on it, visualizing what you wanted, and doing progressive, cumulative action after planning in order to bring about the change that you're looking to happen in your reality. And to do it in such a way of reminding yourself that you are all people in one. One person who's designing your life, but connected intrinsically and affecting through the consequences of your choices all existence. What the individual perspective gives you is sovereignty within a society. See, a society also comes with restrictions that are a part of that experiential reality. What I mean is that we were born, all of us are incarnated into a social structure that had hierarchies and individuals saying that they had the authority over you. If it wasn't religion, then it was a social structure itself, it's government. If it wasn't that, then it was a familial societal structure. If it wasn't that, then it was institutions of every form and facet. All of them determining that they have a right to dictate what you have in your life. What the separation point of view helps you realize is that no, they don't. It's impossible for them actually to. How could they? Think about it. If you are truly all versions of society, if you are truly every human being that exists on this planet, if in fact all human beings are the same, who has a right to tell one person or another what to do? Do you think a hydrogen atom has a better perspective on your reality than you do? Do you think the sun does? How could it? Your experience is an internal one. That is one that is being experienced by the singularity, the point of consciousness within the existence that you're in. That is something that no individual point of consciousness is privy to the potency that you are. So therefore, it is you who governs the experiences of that reality, the choices of it. The illusion of separation grants you a sovereign mode of existence, but it also communicates the necessity for you to be sovereign in your existence and to live it based on that perception. To understand that I am that which exists within the individual, which exists within the collective, which exists within the whole. That you are all of those things simultaneously, which is the body, is the singularity or the individual, the mind is a collective, and the whole is the spirit. But you are that which is aware of all those three facets, not any one of them. This brings us to a totality alignment. The reason why we're doing this, the reason why I'm doing it is because uniquely it's a part of my experiential reality. And what I'm doing is crafting the social structure that I'm looking for. I want to interact with people who understand the precepts of what I'm speaking about as a part of their interaction platform, as common knowledge, as their basis for interaction, who can understand oneness but also put it into action, who can understand individuality and exercise it in such a way that they don't have to depreciate everything around them, who align themselves with the nil so they can act as a totality being. See, I don't like the society that we live in. I really don't. But I'm talking about the global society that is more that is based on a archaic version of separation that elevates one thing over the other, that is based sort of validated by a science that does the same thing, separates one thing from the other, and that has spirituality that matches, because it becomes a part of a social institution. Either they're touting that there is a separation or that there isn't, but if there isn't a separation, you need to abdicate, like you need to separate from certain portions that say there is. How stupid is that? But also the other version is just as ridiculous. It's just, you don't need me to tell you that Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Jehovah's Witness, and all the other versions of religions that say that there is something outside of you, period, that can govern your existence. You don't need me to tell you that those are false. But a lot of people do need me to understand that viewing anything as something that you should surrender your individuality to is also false. You were given an individuality to enhance it, not to surrender it. Why would the totality give you an individuality for you to give it back? You're supposed to use it to experience and cultivate the life that you're looking for, to cultivate the society through your choices and your actions and every day. That's what this audio journal is about. It gives me a chance to get people prepared for that version of living. You're already there. I love you.